The purpose of this video is to demonstrate setting up a simple job in the Array software. We're going to begin by opening the MCS Array software. We're going to define the settings for the job. We're going to choose a data file. We're going to create a template. We're going to save the job. And then we'll be ready to print. Okay, let's start off by double-clicking on the Array icon. This brings up the software, and there's 3 files that are associated with an entire job with the Array software. You have the data file, which has your records in it. You have the template, which has the document layout functions of the job. You know, what fonts do you use, how do you position the data, and that's in the template here that we're going to design in a second. And then when you combine a template with a data file, we call that a job. And that's useful if you do the same job over and over every month. You can just call up the same template and then append new data to it and call it a new job for that month, for example. Alright, we're going to start by choosing a data file. And you don't have to do this. You could start your design of your template without a data file. It does help me so I know the positions of the fields and I can see an actual record when I'm designing it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now I'm going to go to data file options, but typically these are going to be the same for every job you do. So you can set these default settings in your config sys file. The CSV is my default data file that I'm going to use, and I just want to show you that, so I'll hit OK. And then what I do is open data file, and I like to put all my jobs in a root directory off the hard drive called jobs, and then I name the next subdirectory the name of the job. I chose 123 here, and I like to name everything the same as for that job. So let's say you have a numeric way of numbering your jobs. This is job 123. I name the file 1234. I'm going to name the template 1234 and the job 1234. And when I copy this over the network to the machine on the floor, they'll bring up job 1234 and everything should open up fine. So I put everything in the same subdirectory for jobs: the template, the data file, and the job file itself. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this file. And it actually, if you go to the job template here, you'll see the data. So as you can see, my IMB data is in the first field, and I put the header record in the first record. So the names of the field are there, and as you can see as I go across, all the data is there. Alright, so now I go to template, and what I'm going to do is do an address block. So we call these objects up here, and we have a couple objects. This is an address block or a new record block object. This is a message line object. This is the built-in indicia. This is a fixed bitmap, and this is a conditional bitmap, postnet barcode, and all my other barcodes. So we're going to start with an address block. So if I click on here, it defaults to the first 14 fields. My first 2 fields I'm not going to use because they are the IMB information, and I believe these fields are just the end. So if I hit apply, what I can do is bring the live data by hitting the show record data block here, and as you can see, it's not formatted correctly, but I can see I got all the fields that I need. Now, chances are most shops standardize their data file formats. All the fields the same. So you could have a template that is saved that you could just bring a data file in, and voila, you have an address block. But I'm doing this from scratch. So this is a one-time process typically. So what I'm going to do is move it to the side here, and I'm going to format the data the way it's supposed to look on the envelope. So I'm going to hit delete there because it's first name, last name, obviously. And then if we look here, city, comma, delete, state, and then delete again. And you can't see it's off the screen, but I hit apply, and it will actually let me see how it looks like before I leave this box. So I'm going to hit OK, and if I scroll through the record up here, this is because I'm in live data here, show record data is on, so I'm scrolling through the data. You can see that it lets me scroll through the data to make sure I'm okay. Now, just be aware that if I double click here and go back to properties, I have a lot of options I can do with this data. And let me scrunch it up a little bit so you can see. One, I choose my fonts here. So I can do any TrueType font that you have on your PC. Now it's important to realize your fonts do not transfer with the job because there's copyright laws that don't allow us to do that. So it's really important for you to understand to have the same fonts on your setup machines as you do your production machines. So I'll do Courier New. Little hint, Courier New uses less ink than almost any other font. If you want to save money on ink, use Courier New. And if I hit apply here, you'll see it changes to that font here. Okay, so these are your fonts. This is just a different way to look at your fonts. We can do word wrapping if you wanted to make it a paragraph with variable data in it so that it wraps within a box. Remove blank lines when printing. Remove leading spaces from fields. Additional spacing, so you can put some white space in there if you want. And this is left to right font multiplier just to show you how extreme. I'll put 3 in there, and if I hit apply, see how wide it is? You don't want to do 3. So it defaults to 1 as a typical size of it. These are our fields here that are in the database. We also have counters, timestamps, shifts, and users. Now, all objects have these options as well. These are special features for ASCII characters. You can make everything uppercase. We prefer you do that in your data processing software, not here, but you can do it. Remove characters between fields if it is blank. And extended height fonts. We default to make the line spacing conducive to the half-inch cartridges, but if you want to be the true font height, you can do that, and the font size will be the same, but you won't have as much white space in between the two lines, or all your lines. So be aware of that. I'll hit apply there so you can see what it looks like. Then we go to general. This is your positioning to decimal instead of drag and drop. You can put it exactly. This is your rotation. If I hit 45, for example, it goes 45 degrees. Doesn't slow it down if you do that. And then you can do conditional text. You can say only print this data if its state equals Connecticut, for example. But we won't go into that for now. So as you can see, it was pretty easy to set up a simple address block. Now I'm going to set up the, I'm going to use the IMB code since we're so close to the mandatory IMB code coming into place. So what I want to do is go down to my new barcode object, and I go down to intelligent mail barcode. Defaults in the upper left hand corner. Now by default we'll put fixed data in there. The reason why we do that is like I said, you can set up a template without a data file, but it's important to remember that you got to put a variable field in here to be correct, the correct variable field. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I know it's field 1, so I'm going to click here, and it should show up down here as field 1, and I hit OK. And then we have these settings here for the widths, These are all within postal specs. And what this does, it makes the bars thinner or thicker, depending on what your needs are, how many bars per inch. And then we have here, this goes probably outside of postal specs. This is shaving bars off in case you have too much bleeding on the bars. But I'm going to leave that at 0 for now. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll position the barcode over the address block and scroll through a couple records to make sure it's changing, that I have variable data there. And matter of fact, if I go to record 1, it should disappear because it's not a proper barcode, because it's the name of the field in there. So there you go, disappears. Now at this point I'm looking pretty good. I have a simple address block. I'm almost 4 inches over, left to right. I'm not doing a print proof in this demonstration. We have another video for print proofing, and I am going to now save the template. And what I do is I go to File, Save Template As. What I want to do is go to the same subdirectory that I put the job data file in. And I'm going to name it the same first name with a different extension on it for templates. So now I have a data file name 1234, a template name 1234, but that doesn't make it a job. So now I want to go to Save Job, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the same subdirectory, Jobs, and I'm going to say 1234 and hit Save. Now, so all 3 of those files are now located in the job subdirectory, and the subdirectory of jobs is 1234. Now you can name that anything you want, but when I copy this file over the network to the machine, you have to have the same subdirectory set up as C:/job/1234. And when I open it up at the machine, it should be exactly the same, as long as I have the fonts loaded on the machine as well. There's a couple features in this software that help you with quality. One of the things we do is try to avoid these pen boundaries. These are the pen boundaries of the half-inch cartridges that's on the ray. So you really don't want to print, or it's possible to print over where you can stitch it and make it look right, but you'll see stitch marks typically. So we have a feature where you right-click on the object and you say Avoid Pen Boundaries, and it automatically moves it up. If it's possible, if you have a font size that's not evenly divisible into half an inch, there's nothing it can do, and it will tell you. But as you can just see, if I move it down, do it again, and I say Avoid Pen Boundaries, it will move up. The other thing I can do is dock objects together so that they move around together. And when you know, if you're formatting data, sometimes you have 4 lines and 5 lines. You can make everything move down instead of up. So in this case, I'm going to dock the address block by clicking on it, and then I hit down the control button and I click on the IMB code, and you'll see a dotted line around it, and you'll still see dotted lines around the address block. Then I right click and I say dock. And what this does, it means they're now joined at the hip, so that if you do any formatting of the address block, the IMB will stay in the same place every time, and the address block will grow down based on those X's. So this X on the top left-hand corner, everything grows out of that X. This is changeable. You can go to center, right bottom, left top. You can do left center, left bottom. Any combination of these alignments are possible with any object. Alright, once you set this up, like I said, you could do this at your desk. You can, I'm going to move this down a little bit, it looks a little off. I can zoom in here, by the way, up to 200%, and so you can see how it looks against the dotted lines, and actually that looks pretty good. As you can see, the barcode's fine, and all the text is fine. So at this point, I would save make sure everything's saved, which it is because it done all the save job and save template. I'll save the template. It was great. If it was grayed out, it's already been saved. So at this point, we saved everything. And if I was on the machine, I'd go to job, and it displays the data for the job on the screen. And you would hit print. And unfortunately, I'm at my desk, so I can't hit print. I don't have a printer connected. But at this point, as it prints, you'd see the records that were being printed be highlighted as you go. And you just hit print. Now, it's important when you hit print that you decide if you're going to do test patterns. What this does, it spits out ink from the cartridge to get them going. During the job, most people have this set to 1, and you want to make sure you only print the records one time. Starting and ending record, obviously, is the entire job. And then you just hit print, and you're ready to go.